Hi guys, welcome back to Girl Power's STEM Saturdays with me, Morgan Babineau. Last week we made egg geodes and I told you more about supersaturated solutions, and I will insert some pictures of what my egg geodes ended up looking like. With my egg geodes, I probably could have put more salt into the water solution to get more crystals, but even with just the amount that I did get some crystals on the outside of the eggs. Also, my crystals kind of turned yellow, which is a little bit weird. I probably could have put more food coloring in there too, so if you're going to do this, learn from my mistakes. Put more salt in there, put more food coloring if you can, and you'll probably get a little bit better of a result than I did. Just as I promised last video, we are gonna do rock candy today, and that's basically the same premise as the egg geodes, except for you can actually eat them. Please don't eat your egg geodes. They probably won't taste that good. But we will be making rock candy, and I will take you through all of the steps. So the first thing you're gonna need is something for the crystals to grow on. So I have some popsicle sticks that I'm gonna use. You could also use wooden skewers or chopsticks if you have them. Right now this is what I have, and they might grow a little bit different on this. I'm not sure, we're gonna find out. But if you've got popsicle sticks, wooden skewers, chopsticks, any of those would work. Next, you're gonna need a jar. I have a tall jar. You could also have a little jar, just depends on how long your popsicle sticks are. So if your jar is shorter, you're gonna wanna cut the popsicle stick just so that it doesn't touch the bottom of the jar. That's the most important thing. It should be above the bottom of the jar. And then if you have anything that also is similar to a jar in shape and size, you can also use that. It's just so that you can hold all of the water and all of the sugar and all of that together in one place, and so that it is easy for you to set aside too, because it's going to take a little bit for the crystals to come onto the popsicle stick or whatever you're using. So you just want something that you can keep the popsicle stick or whatever you're using inside of the jar for like overnight, I'd say. Next, just like the egg geodes, you're gonna need some food coloring. I've just got some basic food coloring, again, just so that you can make the rock candy a different color. If you don't have food coloring, that's fine. You can still make rock candy, it just won't be a certain color. But I think it's a little bit more fun to use the food coloring. Another thing I'm going to try just to see if it will work is I'm gonna use some Kool-Aid. Just to make it have a different flavor, I guess, than just the normal rock candy. It might not work at all, so again, learn from my mistakes. If it doesn't work, then you definitely don't have to use the Kool-Aid. It's just an optional thing. It'll still taste like rock candy without the Kool-Aid. I just wanted to try something different. Also, you're gonna need some sugar. This is backwards. And then I just have this little mini pot. You can use whatever size pot you want. This is the only one that I have clean. So as long as it can fit a cup of water in it and a couple cups of sugar, you should be okay. Next, you're gonna need a couple cups of water. I'm just using my 1 cup, and I'll just fill it up a couple of times. I'm probably gonna do about 2 cups or 3 cups, depending on when I get to my pot, how much water's in there. So I will fill this one up first, and then we'll head right over to the pot. So just like the egg geodes, we are gonna need to boil some water. So I have my little pot up there. I already put a cup in. I have it on high. If you are not comfortable boiling water on your own, get an adult to help you, or somebody that is good at boiling water and knows how to boil water safely. If you're gonna do it by yourself, just make sure that you don't get it on your clothes, on your skin. That would hurt a lot. Just be really, really careful. So I'm gonna pour my second thing of water in there. Just make sure that it doesn't go too far towards the top of the pot. You don't want it to boil over. Now we just have to wait for it to boil. Also, in my last video, I said to put salt in the water to help it boil faster. Don't do that for this. I don't know if that would affect the taste of the rock candy. Just wait for it to boil. It shouldn't take too long. It's not a lot of water, but don't put salt in it. Now that our water is boiling, we're gonna take the sugar, and I'm reusing the cup that I used for the water, and we're just gonna pour in a little bit at a time. We'll do like that much. And then I'm also gonna take a little spoon, and we're just gonna stir and make sure it dissolves. So basically it's when you can't see the sugar anymore. So now you can see all the sugar is dissolved. Now, set that aside, pour some more sugar in there. Just do the rest of the cup. And we're just doing this. We're gonna keep adding more and more sugar until it won't dissolve anymore. So it's basically like we did with the egg geodes with the salt. We kept putting salt in there until the salt wouldn't dissolve anymore. And that will create our super saturated solution. The instructions that I'm going off of say that it might take a lot of sugar to be able to create a super saturated solution. And each time you add the sugar, it'll take even longer for it to dissolve, especially once it's getting close to being super saturated. So you just want to make sure that you don't give up too easily. You want to keep adding as much sugar as you can until it won't dissolve anymore. Also, I forgot to mention, you need to keep it boiling while you put the sugar in, so make sure it stays on high the whole time. Alright, so I've got my pan, and you can see that it stopped dissolving. You can see the little sugar crystals in there, and they're not dissolving anymore, so I took it off of the heat, and now we're going to pour it into our jar. Just like before, this is going to be even harder because the opening for the jar is a little bit smaller than what the coffee cup was. So I'm actually going to do this off camera so that I can use both of my hands. So make sure you use both hands and do it in a sink so that if you do spill, it goes in the sink. Also be very careful when you're handling the jar afterwards. I'm going to use an oven mitt just because the jar is now super hot because of the boiling sugar water. Now that I added that food coloring, I'm going to take my Kool-Aid packet, and I'm also going to pour that in there and stir. Now I'm going to let it cool off for 20 minutes. Now that I let it cool for 20 minutes, I've just attached 2 popsicle sticks with some tape. So one goes across, and then one goes down into the solution. And I just took the tape so that it's stabilized so it doesn't move. And so that it sticks onto that top popsicle stick. And basically you just want to make sure whatever thing you're using in place of the popsicle stick, you don't want it to touch the very bottom of the jar. You want to make sure that it has enough room in there above the bottom of the jar. Now that we have that all set up, you're going to want to make sure you put it in a safe place that you can leave it for a couple of days. I'm going to leave mine for like 4 or 5 days. And then kind of just check back in on it at the end of that 4 or 5 days and see how big the rock candy grew. You're just gonna wanna make sure that you keep it in a safe place so it doesn't spill. It's still probably gonna be really hot, so make sure you handle it with care. I would use oven mitts still. And then that's when you allow it to completely cool off and just kind of forget about it for a couple of days. Just like in the last video with the egg geodes, this is basically the same premise. So you're taking that sugar and you are super saturating the water so that the sugar molecules can fit into the water molecules while it took advantage of the fact that the water was boiling and it had a lot of energy. Once the water starts to cool down with the sugar in it, the sugar then will have to be forced out of that water solution. Just because it's low energy now. The water is cooling off, so it has low energy. That's why when you put the wooden skewer, or in my case, a popsicle stick, into that solution, the sugar is gonna wanna attach itself to the wooden, whatever you're using, and it's gonna start growing. And that's basically how those egg geodes work, and that's how geodes out in the wild work also when they grow on rocks and all of that. So if you want a better explanation of all of that, you can go to my last video too, but this was just kind of a short and sweet explanation. Like I said, I'm gonna leave mine for like 3 to 4 days, 4 to 5 days, just kind of depends on how long I just want to leave it and be able to contain my excitement to be able to take it out, but I think the cap is about a week. So if you want to leave it for a week, you'll probably get the most growth out of that. And you can, as early as in 3 days, take it out, and it just won't be as big, but you'll still probably have some rock candy to eat. I'll also let you know on next Saturday if the Kool-Aid makes it taste any better, so that you could try that if you want to also. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you had fun making your rock candy. Next week we are gonna do hoop gliders, so if you're interested in that, make sure you watch next Saturday for that video. Thank you guys so much. Bye.